Hello and welcome to the Daily Space for today, Friday, April 24th, 2020. I am your host, Dr. Pamela Gay, and I am here to put science in your brain. Here on Earth, we often take our climate for granted. We complain when it's too hot, we complain when it's too cold, we get grouchy when winter lasts too long, and we get concerned for our fruit trees when spring comes too early. Humans are picky. We don't always know just how lucky we've got it. For instance, we could have, not evolved on the planet Kelt 20b, a hot Jupiter located 450 light years away and orbiting a hot A-type star. This world orbits just every 3.5 days, and at a distance of just 5% of Earth's distance from our sun, this is a charbroiled planet. It was recently studied by Yale's Extreme Precision Spectrometer, or EXPRES, and scientists were able to study the planet's atmosphere as it went from beside its host star to directly in front of its host star from our perspective here on Earth. Kelt 20's light passed through its planet's atmosphere, and some of that light was absorbed out, and the exact colors of these dark bands of absorption tell us what chemicals are present. Thanks to the light-gathering power and resolution of the 4.3-meter Lowell Discovery Scope that was used for this science, they could actually see gaseous iron, magnesium, and chromium in that atmosphere. And they also noticed differences between the dawn and dusk sides of the world. These differences will allow the collaboration scientists to create atmospheric circulation models. These are still early days for both this discovery and this instrument, which are described in a new publication in Astronomy and Astrophysics that was led by Jens Horkheimer. Apologies, Jens. Your last name is a bit complicated. So this is research that we're going to be following over time. But yes, folks, we're starting to get the data needed to, start putting together meteorological models for other worlds that hopefully will be at least as accurate as what we have here. Anyways, as computers get used for more and more powerful projects, as they themselves get more and more powerful, astronomers and planetary scientists are working to piece by piece try to take this amazing wealth of observational data we have and transform it into a coherent understanding of how all the crazy things we find could come into being. One of the most recent struggling points that we've had is the Kuiper Belt object Arrokoth. This particular object is a bilobate Kuiper Belt object, and it formed through a slow motion collision. And while we've been able to wave our hands and say, these are the requirements, ever since we first saw this, being able to name the requirements to get an object isn't the same thing as understanding the object. This is like tasting a meal and being able to taste all the ingredients, but you can't recreate the meal by just throwing all those ingredients into a bowl and staring at them. There is the how did this happen that we also have to figure out. Now, a group of computational modelers from the Technion Society have published in Nature results on a model that looks at, how these two lobes of Arrokoth could have, orbited as separate bodies around the sun. By including the sun in their models, this makes this a three-body problem that has to be numerically stepped through, analyzing how all the forces play out at every step in time. This careful approach allowed them to see how the two objects that formed Arrokoth could gravitationally catch each other and tumble into a circular path around their central gravitational point of mass, their gravitational center of mass, while they orbited the sun. Now, this isn't a stable configuration, and over time, the orbit would evolve, going to an elliptical shape and then spiraling the two objects until they gently merged. It is a beautiful numerical dance, and I'm sad to report they didn't share a video of their model. Nevertheless, we now know in numbers how Arrokoth could come to be. This kind of take the constraints and model the how approach is getting used in lots of different places. One of my favorite new results comes from a team led by Fatih Namoni at the Observatoire de la Côte d'Azur. In this case, rather than modeling a single object, this team modeled a group of objects and asked how they got there. In our solar system, we regularly see things in weird orbits, and we see weird orbits that are somewhat similar. We give that class of objects in those orbits a name. One of these groups is the centaurs, objects in orbits haphazardly scattered around the orbits of Saturn, Uranus, and inside Neptune's orbit. Some of these objects are icy Kuiper belt and maybe Oort cloud objects that could have been flung into the inner solar system through three-body interactions. These objects will eventually probably become short-period comets. Other objects are rocky and harder to sort since our solar system's rocky objects formed in the inner parts of our solar system. Well, it gets a lot easier to explain these rocky asteroids if we look outside our solar system for an explanation. In a new paper in the monthly notices of the Royal Astronomical Society, this team describes how at least 19 of the asteroids in the Centaurs region are probably of interstellar origin. Quite likely, these rocky bodies were purloined from nearby star systems when our solar system was still forming, and they've been with us ever since. Once again, we're reminded our solar system is a mix of locally grown objects and imported worlds. Our solar system does have a border. The Voyagers found it and measured it and pushed through it. And it turns out that anything that wants, well, it can cross that border and visit our solar system at any time. All right, one last news item of the day. The USGS, which maps just about everything, not just the Earth, has released a glorious new map of the moon that details all the geologic features on the moon in colors that make no sense without a key. In this image, however, you can see where the lava would cover different regions in this pinky and reddy color, and you can see the wild splatter patterns of craters everywhere. There are features in this map that I want to know more about, specifically the wild splatter pattern all along the edge of the hemisphere shown on the right. That's the far side of the moon. On the right edge of that right image that depicts the far side, there's this pale blue region expanding out from a crater that's just out of our view here on Earth. I want to know what that is. And I'm going to try and bring on a guest to talk about what this coherent map of the moon's geology can tell us. But that interview is going to be on another day. For now, this rounds out today's Daily Space. Thank you all so much for being here. Today's script was written by me, Dr. Pamela Gay, and this episode will be produced by Susie Murph. We are a product of the Planetary Science Institute, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to exploring our solar system and beyond. We are here thanks to the generous contributions of people like you. Your bits, your subs, your patronage at patreon.com, they mean the world to us. They keep us going. They let me pay Susie and Annie. And we wouldn't be here without you. But I want you to know we'll find ways to make it if you're having a hard time right now. Don't feel that you have to donate. We know that everyone is struggling right now. Just hang out with us. Be part of our community. Join us for a ticket to ride. Share a meme on Discord and volunteer to do something cool around the project. We're a community and we get all of us through this. All of us are going to come out the other side, okay? All right, that's it. I'm going to take your questions now. Okay, moving the window of questions a little bit closer. So Hannes Vorwerp says, I wonder if these asteroids could be backtraced to sibling solar systems. Unfortunately, over the 5.5 billion years since our solar system formed, we've orbited the Milky Way a whole bunch of times, as have our stellar siblings, and it's no longer really possible to figure out which solar systems were where so many orbits ago. This is due to the differences in orbital velocity that each of these stars would have ended up with that spread us out orbit by orbit until only occasionally we can look at a stellar neighbor and say, you look a lot like us. Maybe, but we can't know. So sadly, we just know they're here for now. Broken Symmetry, thank you so much for your sub for 7 months. I have a dog cam for moments like this. I think I have a dog cam for moments like this. Somewhere there is a dog cam. I'm going to figure out how to bring it up. So one of the things that's going to happen this weekend at some point, I don't know exactly when, is, wow, I'm having all the green screening difficulties today. I don't need a countdown clock. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Sorry for the chaos, people. Sorry for the chaos. Thank you, Adam, all together. Thank you all. Thank you. So we share doggos. This is Malachi and Stella. Eddie knows that it's about time for him to be groomed, and he's not about to come down those stairs because he's afraid it might mean getting groomed. So we shared, thank you. Did someone gift subs when I wasn't looking? Thank you, Wayne Johnson. Thank you for gifting all the subs. All you people with new rockets, get out and launch your rockets in the chat. So when good things happen, we make the dogs happy and we share their cuteness as a way of saying thank you. It's what we do. Everyone, launch your rockets. Launch your rockets in celebration. Thank you, Keeper of Map. Tropical Tom, I will see you on Discord as soon as this episode is over. Between coffee and now, I saw that you messaged me, but that's all I had time to look at because I was desperately writing the script. And as you can tell from me not quite starting on time, it took me a bit. All right, so thank you all the lots of Cheerios on the doggos. Yes, the dogs will be eating Cheerios off of each other for a little bit, and that is okay. I particularly thank you, Tropical Tom. Words are hard. I really appreciate that right now in this particular view, the dogs look giant. We have giant doggos in the background. So that's, again, Malachi and Stella. Malachi wearing the Cheerios as he cleans the chair. All right, so let me scrolling. Malachi's going to learn to get in the chair by grabbing Cheerios. I like the fact that Tropical Tom has a potato infestation. That's fascinating. I've got salt, which has the butter. Does that mean you have salted butter and you just don't like salt? I'm going to assume that. Grilled exoplanet. Yes, that is a thing. All right, so I'm not seeing questions early on. Let's see if questions cropped up later. So AstroWise, I no longer get chive seeds because I let our chives and our basil both go to seed one year. And this means that every single pot I have outside has chives growing out of it come spring. So like before I plant anything, chives just appear out of nowhere. So the key to chives is to let them go to seed and then just wait for the volunteers to spring forth. Now, this also means that our backyard is this crazy mix of chives and basil, and we already had wild strawberries and wild violets and dandelions because everyone has dandelions, and clover. I think there might be a little bit of grass in there, maybe. Yeah, that's our yard. That's what happened to your parents. Mint, Hanny. Yes, mint is evil. Mint is very evil. And our backyard is highly delicious. We had a groundhog that lived with us. Oh my goodness. All the way up until we got I think it was Eddie finally did in the groundhog. He didn't do in the groundhog, to be clear. He simply liked to lay down right outside of its hole and stare at its hole. And I think at one point while it was in the house, while Eddie was in the house, the groundhog was like, I'm gone. I'm not coming back. So after many, many years of having groundhogs, we no longer have groundhogs. It's sad. That's cool that you eat your dandelions, Tropical Tom. This year I thought really hard about making violet syrup because that seemed to be the thing the cool kids were doing. But in the end, I was too lazy to pick that many violets and just took photos of them. So my Star Strider Patreon, I posted photos, but I don't think I shared them. Maybe on Instagram. Let me see if I have them on Instagram. I took some photos of our lawn weeds. Yeah, I did post on Instagram. So let's see if I can figure out how to share this. Sorry, I have to rearrange my screen to make this work. No, it does not want to let me share in a sensible way. I'm going to figure this out. Almost. I'm almost there. Eddie has opinions. There. All right. So I can now... So this is a small patch of my lawn. I'm quite pleased with my lawn because it is not a lawn. It is actually good for nature. Thank you, Ann Johnson, for the sub. So Gillian Georgine asks, has there been any further news on the lopsided universe news? No, I need to follow up with the scientists and see about getting someone to come on. I am so behind in my email right now. It's a bit traumatizing. That's going to happen this weekend. So Astrowise asks, can you please elaborate on 3 body interactions regarding how objects get a different orbit? 2 objects won't do it. So 2 options will, over time, and I'm going to have to rearrange this poor screen. Pardon me for a moment while I work on getting the slides back lined up. I moved. Oh God, Eddie has real opinions today. Really loud opinions today. There we go. I don't know what's going on. All right. So, if you have two objects and there's an exchange of energy between them somehow, some sort of a frictional effect, a trading of energy, solar winds, any of these different things going on, if you have a way to exchange mass or energy, their orbits can modify, but you have to have that exchange. If you just have 2 rocks orbiting each other with nothing else affecting it, they're going to orbit the same way forever. But the second you add a third body, a third gravitational force, then as the 2 smaller objects move and their interaction with that third object changes, then that's going to affect how these 2 are moving. So effectively, the force from the sun on the 2 smaller objects is constantly varying how they move. With our moon, it doesn't really see the sun gravitationally because the Earth is so much bigger than it is. With Arrokoth, the 2 objects that we see, they're close in size to one another. So neither one was able to dominate over the power of the sun, or in this case, the force of the sun. And So you had a classic three-body problem with two similarly massed objects just struggling to figure out the relationship. And in this case, the result was they became one object. It's just that every step the sun was pulling. So I see the question, was that a delivery? No, I now hear a lawnmower, so I suspect it's our neighbors' gardeners again. We have neighbors on one side who have gardeners about twice a week because they're trying to sell their house, which I respect. But it's a very expensive house in a very bad economy, although I live in a very small town, so it's quite possible that someone wishing to escape a city will end up becoming my neighbor. Three-body problem, three dogs, coincidence. I like that, Limp Rimple. I like that. Jillian, I'm so sorry. I will get it at some point. Jillian Georgine says, I thought this thing was called Ultimate Thule. So that was the team's nickname for the object that was originally cataloged as MU69. MU69 was its official catalog designation. The New Horizons team renamed it, and they gave it a Nazi name that white supremacists use in racist music. When people figured this out, they didn't really appreciate it. And so when they went to get an official IAU name assigned to this object, they went with Arrokoth, which is a Native American word. I don't quite remember what it means, but it was completely friendly and nice. So we're going to go with Arrokoth and pretend the name Ultimate Thule never existed, because just say no to white supremacists. Just say no. Anyways, moving on. Do you link to the moon map? So we will link to it in our show notes. Let me pull up a map to words, they're hard. Let me pull up a link to share with you. Just a second. I'm just pulling it out of my notes for today's episode. I just have to get that page to open, and it doesn't want to open. There it is. Thank you, AstroWise, for that information. Arrokoth means sky in the Powhatan Algonquin language. It's okay, Jillian Georgine. You've been traveling a lot when this happened, from what I understand, and you're busy with so many different things. It's okay to miss out on information now and then. I do it myself. Bad guys ruin so many things, like words, names. Yes, broken symmetry. Yes. All right, so I think I need to go silence my dog. And record the podcast and prep for Astronomy Cast. So for those of you who don't remember, it is a Friday. This means that in an hour and a half, I will be back. I won't be back here. I will be back, in the chair from dog camp. And we will be recording Astronomy Cast live on YouTube with a simulcast right here on twitch.tv/CosmoQuestX. So please come back. I will raid someone. Who shall we raid today? So I see EJ, I see Prof. Melko. Is there anyone else out there that you would like to raid? I wish for your thoughts and opinions. Ambius is online. Okay, I need to type him in. One moment while I become confused temporarily. So many things. So really, there is going to be a ninja stream sometime this weekend to try and sort all my screens out and get everything working just a little bit better. So if you want to learn how the sausage is made production-wise, there'll be a stream for that. There he is. Okay, So, thank you all for being here. Once again, today's episode was written by me, Dr. Pamela Gay, and will be produced by Susie Murph. We are a product of the Planetary Science Institute, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to exploring our solar system and beyond. We are here thanks to you. If you can't give right now, that's cool. Just hang out with us. We're a community, and we're going to figure out together how to get through plague times. So if you want to get more involved, that we will encourage you to do. Check it out over at Discord. We have software, we have web interfaces. We want to turn morning coffee into community coffee, get more people talking and sharing and showing more faces of all of you out there who are, well, why we exist. So thank you for being here. And wherever you are in the world, have a fabulous morning, evening, or afternoon. Wash your hands, stay inside, and be good to one another. Bye-bye.